Welcome back to Myth Detective. Giant, stupid, and evil. For centuries, this has been the simple, brutal profile of the JÖTNAR, the eternal enemies of the Norse gods. They are the brutish monsters Thor joyfully smashes with his hammer. The crude forces of chaos destined to bring about the fiery end of Ragnarok. We see them as little more than comic book villains, a monolithic race of destructive thugs. But what if this entire profile is a lie? What if it's nothing more than wartime propaganda, skillfully crafted by the gods of Asgard to demonize their oldest, most powerful, and most complicated rivals? Today, we are throwing out the official record. We will open the case file on Jotunheim and investigate the shocking theory that the giants were not monsters. They were a rival superpower, bound to the very gods who hunted them by a secret, undeniable tie of blood. The case against the JÖTNAR seems overwhelming. The sagas are filled with tales that paint them as forces of pure chaos, hell-bent on destroying the order that the gods fought so hard to build. We have the evidence of the master builder, a giant who tricked the gods and threatened to steal the sun, the moon, and the goddess Freya. We have the case of Ragnar, a brutish stone giant who got drunk in Asgard's halls, threatened to kill all the gods and carry Valhalla back to Jotunheim on his back. And of course, there is the constant, looming threat of the fire giants from Muspelheim, led by Surtur, who will ultimately burn the world to ash. Thor's entire identity is built around being the giant smasher, a divine border patrol agent keeping the monstrous hordes at bay. This narrative presents a clear, simple picture of good versus evil, order versus chaos, gods versus monsters. But this black and white picture, this convenient propaganda, intentionally leaves out some very uncomfortable and complicated family secrets that change everything. The first piece of evidence that shatters the gods versus monsters narrative is a shocking family secret. They are all related by blood. The very first being in existence was the giant Ymir, from whose colossal body the entire world and the first gods were made. Odin himself, the king of Asgard, is not a pure Gear. His mother was the giantess Besla. This makes the ruler of the gods at least half giant. And the most famous giant killer of all, Thor, has an even more direct connection that is often conveniently ignored. His mother is Jair, the personification of the earth, who is herself a full-blooded JÖTN. This means Thor, the ultimate enemy of the giants, is in fact 3/4 giant. This is not a war against an alien species or a demonic horde. It is a bitter and bloody civil war, a family feud on a cosmic scale, where brothers, uncles, and cousins are locked in an eternal, tragic conflict for dominance over a world they all helped create. The second piece of evidence directly contradicts the stupid and ugly stereotype. The myths are filled with giants renowned for their ancient wisdom. So much so that Odin repeatedly risked his life to travel to Jotunheim, not to fight, but to learn from them. He engaged in a deadly wisdom contest with the giant Vafthrûdnir, and he relied on the counsel of the severed head of the wise giant. Furthermore, the gods of Asgard constantly desired and married giantesses who were famed for their beauty and power. The fierce goddess Sky, who marched on Asgard alone to demand justice for her father's death, and became a goddess in Asgard, was a giantess. The beautiful Gur, for whom the god Freyr gave away his magical, self-fighting sword, was a giantess. The very idea that the JÖTNAR were all monstrous is disproven by the gods' own actions, which show a deep respect for their wisdom and a profound desire for their women. They were not just monsters, they were equals. The case file is closed. The evidence shows that the JÖTNAR were not a monolithic race of evil brutes. They were a diverse and powerful civilization, a rival superpower to Asgard with their own ancient wisdom, powerful deities, and complex culture. The constant conflict was not a simple war of good versus evil, but a political cold war between two mighty kingdoms who were also tragically related by blood. The monster stereotype was likely a form of wartime propaganda, a way for the gods of Asgard, the story's narrators, Cod, to justify their endless war and consolidate their own power. The Giants of Jotunheim were not villains. They were the opposition, a necessary and powerful counterbalance to the might of Asgard. And in any great story, the opposition is just as important and often just as complex as the hero. So what's your verdict? Were the giants evil monsters or a rival civilization, unfairly demonized by the propaganda of Asgard?